wir live. Wir haben einen Zuschauer. Yay!
Hello!
Hello, everybody. In this case, everybody means Colin and Claudia. They're really just more than one person. La, la, la. Doesn't seem to be. Well, we can go ahead anyway and start with the question that we've got. Will you now alternate European sessions between European and US sessions to keep everyone happy and informed? We don't know. It's midnight now. Welcome to our little midnight Shadowrun thing. It's midnight where we live. So the two of us are in the office at midnight. And of course we're going to try and do that more often. I'm not entirely sure how often we will do it because it's midnight and it's rather late. But we're happy to serve our US customers as well. So we're happy to be here at midnight.
At night.
Midnight it is. We don't have any more questions because there seems to be nobody there, although we did it at midnight. You know, there's actually one person that was there is gone, according to Google. And Google never lies, because why should they? Well, maybe we talk a bit about the patch then.
Yep.
Today's patch. Or, yes. Or do we have questions that we've already got prepared that we want to answer?
Yes, there were some questions left over from last time's session.
Okay.
The first one we didn't have time for last time was, will there be active queuing of character actions? So basically the question...
Can you decide when it's your character's turn as opposed to the other guy's turn?
Yeah.
And the answer is?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
This is something that we're working on now. What you'll be able to do from the next patch onward, which is the one we're working on now, is select your characters in any order that you want, even between actions, so you can move with one, then cast a spell with the other, and then go back to the first one to run until the door guns blazing. So that should make, especially this kind of entering a room full of evil people situations much more fun, as well as making the management of all the effects and spells a bit less bothersome.
Yeah, so you don't have to just sort of enter in order for your mage to enchant the other guy that wants to go through the door. We did have this basically two choices. We could have gone initiative, which was also something that we looked at, like it was like actual pen and paper, you know, first initiative moves first thing, and then get everybody buffed on initiative order and everything. But in the end, it feels constrained. It just feels constrained. I've got in the role-playing game, I usually play one or two persons, and if I've got a squad of people or three people, the fact that I just can't get the other guy to move first, that would usually be done in communication in Shadowrun. But since the characters in our game don't communicate as such, because you're the mastermind that controls them, it makes much more sense this way. And we tried both options, and we came up with having to do this one because it's better.
Sort of a follow-up question that a couple of you have been asking is how we're going to handle reflex boosts and so on. Basically, everybody who gets more than one initiative dice. This is something that we're just not going to do because in pen and paper this is fairly smooth. But in a computer game, when you're playing co-op with somebody who just gets 2 turns for every 1 turn that you get, it's just going to get boring really, really soon. So. Yeah.
But we haven't looked at the same thing. Like Shadowrun Return does that for a while as well. That you get these 3 action points. So, yeah, maybe we already have that extended movement thing, which is also something. So we're going to use that. But the wide reflexes, which is like still a killer combo thing in Shadowrun pen and paper, is just going to throw off all the other balancing because there's really no replacing a full action that you can take when everybody else is just sort of picking their nose. So we're going to be really careful on that. Again, the interest for us is keep the gameplay happy for everybody as opposed to just the 2 people that have got wild reflexes and really fuck around with everybody else. There's a question here. Should we take this one? Mm-hmm. Are there any choking points in development, or is everything running smoothly? I'm sorry, I have to laugh. everything running smoothly. Game development and everything running smoothly is never really mentioned in the same sentence in any way, and probably doesn't even belong in the same room. Having said that, Tom and his crew have yet to fail a milestone. I'm keeping fingers crossed they never will, but it's amazing how much on time we are now that we're over a year late. Taking it from when we started, actually, to be able to have the full team and everything else, we pretty much ran into very few problems, and most of that was cleverly architectured by our programmers in a way that it already worked, or we adopted the design in a way that we could make do with what we've got. So amazingly, there aren't any real choking points. Are there?
No. Yeah, I would put it like that. Except for the fact that we are a year late. Yeah. We are pretty much on track. Doesn't mean that it won't get really horrible in the future. But game development is that sort of minefield of things that go wrong and boom when you least expect it.
But one of the reasons it is that way is because we constrain. We are consciously constrain everything that we do, pretty much, to what can we do with the things that we have, and we are a long way away from, oh, it would be so nice to try this. We before we put programming time in, we usually try a lot of stuff on paper. We've got a lot of prototyping on paper done. We think long and hard about, does it really help gameplay, or is it just something that we think we should do? So the price we pay for being functional and not having these choke points is currently, we're doing the stuff that really makes sense 100% and not stuff that is like, could be nice, let's try it. So there are constraints that we have to face for that. A real question.
So basically what Jan is saying, all your nice suggestions on the forums, we do read them daily. We would like to do a lot of that, but there's just not time for everything. And please believe us that everything that doesn't make it in is always the victim of a long line of arguments, discussions, one or two tantrums, usually, then some negotiation.
I've thrown a tantrum just today, actually. A little one.
So basically, for us, with each cool thing that makes the world of Shadowrun what it is, it's always like the 5 stages of grief, except twice a day.
Yeah, we're a happy life. We developers live a really happy life. Yeah, okay, but that's still, I think, what we see that we address it when we can, like the turn order thing. We looked at it, we agreed it needs to be changed. We looked at the ways to change it, and there was sort of the two predominant lines of argument for this or for that, and we picked one side and we tried the other, and then we decide which one we're going to pick. So we are addressing that. It's just not, you mention it in the forum and 2 weeks later it's going to be in the build. It's just that the process takes more time. Real question, when do you think we will get the first version with actual multiplayer? I assume you mean co-op multiplayer, because the multiplayer PvP is already in, although admittedly not very glamorous, because it's currently just a map and you can kill. But technically it's the same thing.
Well, it's running around bashing each other's heads in without much thought.
Totally PvP. But if you say co-op, we had a discussion about that today, actually. This is live and we haven't even, this is from this afternoon. Technically, we can do a co-op multiplayer already. What we can't really do well is match you with the person you want to be matched with. That is some time away. But we're looking for a way to put multiplayer in, or a co-op multiplayer in, so you can basically play the game. You currently see a bit more character selection, or say picking your characters, and then joining up with someone who's also searching from the same random button. So it would be join me up, and then you find somebody.
So basically the discussion that we're having at the moment is how much you guys will put up with. So basically how inconvenient it's going to be to play, because technically it is already possible, and how important it is to play with the person from the friends list, etc., etc. So it's mainly the interface stuff that takes a long time, and all the convenience features. But
and we're leaning towards sort of getting the co-op in now and having it slightly inconvenient and then more convenient as time progresses and all the build, the group and guild and all the social stuff later on.
Andy Selby asks when we'll get around to the Linux version. Same answer as last time. We kind of want to tackle it soonish, but it's usually always not quite as important as the disaster of the day. So we're definitely looking at tackling that within the next couple of months, definitely before release, the way it looks now. Don't kill us if we don't. Yeah, still going to be a bit off. So.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough because it also takes a lot of testing time. Like we have to set up Linux machines, we have to set up the whole array of things, and that's just buy new computers to set up Linux machines. Have somebody, the QA process actually I think is more of the issue currently. Yeah. Once we start a Linux build, we have to carry that Linux build along. So we'd rather do that later on because we don't expect anything to break there pretty much, or like hope not to break anything big. But testing it now for every version that we do is just going to be that much extra work. Brent Young asks, have you guys and gals played the previous Shadowrun video games extensively? If so, what gameplay would you like to throw out completely or borrow from heavily? Or feel? Shadowrun Returns has a great story, atmosphere, and fun, but seems a little too bright and colorful. Okay, there's many answers to that question.
And all of them are wrong.
All of them are wrong in a way because we did play them for me personally from the Sega version onwards. I even played the Microsoft shooter, but I suck at shooters, so I didn't even get to be angry at it because I just lost all the time. For Shadowrun Returns, which is sort of the most recent and freshest in our mind, we of course we are similar in many ways already. I think we said that before. For me, Shadowrun Returns is a great adventure with a little tactical combat in it that takes a good time, but is I think we're more towards more tactical combat and less storytelling. That being said, in terms of the atmosphere in the world, I think we're a bit grittier, but that's not. I don't think that's even a conscious choice. I think it's more because we're 3D and they are 2D, and there's just the way you paint it. I don't even think it's that colorful in the sense that it's cheerful. It's just if you're 2D, color is pretty much the only thing you can do in order to differentiate stuff properly and make it stand out. If you look at our levels, they aren't necessarily less colorful, but they because they're 3D and they're textured and it looks more realistic, it gets slightly darker look without actually us saying we want it really dark. But I'm thinking if I would say anything in terms of the look and feel, we go into a bit grittier, because also the 50s in Shadowrun they're more like the 80s, so they're more pink mohawk, and we don't have pink mohawks anymore. We fondly remember them, but we wouldn't want to wear them probably. And so the atmosphere for us, also because of the topic, like the whole stuff that happens thing in the game, story-wise. You need to get the printout of the campaign. So yes. Yeah, we'll show you the content.
I will trust you not to promise.
No. And also we get.
I will trust you not to promise anything.
Yeah. And then I won't. I'll behave. But yeah, so the content is also like the whole story and the setting is grimmer. So I think this is what I would like to keep and carry over, which I loved in Shadowrun Returns, is that they, with very few strokes of the pen and very few rules actually, managed to convey a good story. This is, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the campaign book printout for the Shadowrun Lockdown campaign by our famous author Scott Schletz, and we are going through that because it's nearing the point where we'll hand it out to Catalyst for them to lay out and edit, and we're preparing art for it. So we are heavily involved in the story, which is why I can confidently say that our story is going to be darker than what we had for Shadowrun Returns. And it's
voluminous.
A lot of pages. And it's really small print as well. And still a lot of pages.
There are some excerpts of that floating around as the short stories that we posted as updates. So if you want to sort of sneak peek, they're on the Shadowrun.com website. Other than that, it's looking like soonish.
Yeah. We won't say more. Grid Reaper asks, are you looking at making regular monthly patches, or will we see patches coming in sooner? I don't think we can do any quicker than monthly. I think we're lucky if we get an exact 4-week rhythm. So probably it's going to be more like 5 weeks, depending on QA time. The way it works is we've got sprints of 2 weeks each, and we usually got 2 sprints into one update. But after these guys are finished with doing it, then our QA comes and go through it again. And then there's bug fixing added to that. So all in all, the whole process takes between 4 and 5 weeks at least. And then we need to actually get it ready, get it signed off, and then we need to distribute it. So yeah, definitely not quicker than that.
So since the first release, we've been getting into sort of a 4-week rhythm. That we have 3 weeks of work on new features and then a week of polishing, fixing things, or unbreaking things that we inadvertently broke before, which we've managed to do twice so far.
Never happens.
Twice,
never
it's never.
Yeah.
But we definitely won't be able to manage more than once a month. I'm sorry, just because it eats away so much team time that we'd rather spend on features.
Yeah. And also the for us, like at least in the foreseeable future, so the next 3-4 months, there's always going to be large chunks of extra features coming in, and they are not, you can't just drop one like character creation or there's just enormous. They usually take more than 2 weeks to create, from the initial design to base code to visualization, all that stuff. DJ Tapster asked, will normal armor function the same way as the armor spell concerning degradation? Probably-ish.
Probably-ish. Right now it doesn't. Right now it's just all the same. It's kind of a touchy subject for us because since this is still alpha and we're developing a lot of the gameplay as we go along, we are sometimes painfully aware that what we're doing now is not quite as Shadowrun as it should be. But it is a building site, so please expect bricks to fall on heads occasionally. I do think it'll work differently once we're done.
Yeah.
Then again,
I kind of gotta like it. I mean, this is actually an open discussion because we had that as well. Where we said, okay, we wanted armor to it depends on the damage output that we carry. Currently, we've got really low numbers with the damage output, damage of 1 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, which is nice, but it's probably not going to take us through the whole game if we do that, because the progression that we have got in the game will just, if you've got a gun that does 5 damage in the beginning and then 3 months from that you've got a gun that does 8 damage, it's probably not going to be really exciting in the middle where you've got no gun that does anything different. Well, that's not true because there's skills and everything, but there's like the stretch that we have is limited by the ranges of numbers that we have.
I think the question relates more to whether
it degrades or whether it's going to be an armor that just blocks, soaks up damage. Yeah, but that also has to do with the numbers. If we've got like 15 damage, then soaking makes much more sense. Currently, soaking would take away a lot of, like if we've got a 2 soak that works continuously, it's going to be brutally powerful.
Yeah. Bottom line, if it's fun, we'll keep it. If it's not fun, we'll chuck it.
As always, the real
and
fun.
It'll probably change twice until
the end. Kim Mickelson asks, what aspects of Shadowrun do you like the most and what is hardest to put in the game?
That's a very personal question. For me, I've been playing Shadowrun since 2.01. For me, it's all the stuff that happens around the Shadowrun, so basically all the planning, the scheming, the talking, the exploring, the going through options. This is just tremendously hard to do for us because, and we'll never be able to get that right, because there's just so much creativity involved on the part of the Shadowrunners. And we had a lot of discussions about how to do that or how we could put that into a game in a sort of satisfactory manner. But it'll always fail because whenever we do something like that, especially on the timescale that we'd always be sort of shoehorning you into 2 or 3 options which
it's going to be a fake dialogue tree where like we have to have you do this, so you get 3 dialogues that in the end will basically do the same thing because we need you to get to the next level. And it's that's one of the things I don't want to do. That's just a waste of good dialogue.
So basically all this this creative stuff about setting up your run, about causing trouble, it always ends up in shambles anyway. But still, thinking about how you would have done it if it went right and the guard hadn't spotted you is a tremendous lot of fun. But that just translates so poorly into digital because then suddenly you got 3 options and it's not fun anymore.
Yeah, I think I agree for that. Actually, one of the things that also that we still, well, I wouldn't say struggle with it, but that we see is Shadowrun combat is, in terms of the base definition, really quick 3-second shootout things that, you know, everybody's dead in below a minute and people move at blinding speed and everything else. In the actual pen and paper game, we had a combat on Sunday with my group, and we played, I think, like 4 hours of combat, and we shot like 8 people or something. It just took for ages, filling damage rolls and circles and everything, and trying to get, because there's a lot of tactical depth involved in Shadowrun PnP combat, pen and paper combat, trying to get the illusion of, or the image of a quick shoot and still have enough tactical depth based on your skills and weapon selections and all that to actually be true to both the idea of a quick combat and the actual very slow, very complicated, very detailed combat of the pen and paper rule set. I think that is also something that I think is really hard and that I still like very much because that differentiates Shadowrun from your average pen and paper sword wielding, dragon bashing game, and we're trying to do that as well. So be true to both legacies, basically. When the game is done, will you hold a charity auction for a good cause, donating some Shadowrun return goodies, for example, that wicked poster behind us? That wicked poster behind us is actually is a banner that we stole from PAX East. Well, we didn't steal it because we paid for it. We paid for it in the beginning, but our friends at Reverb Publishing, thank you Reverb, put it up on the booth on PAX East, and we just took it back because they didn't want it. So it's one of the few trophies that we've got. But maybe, yeah, I mean, when we one day really actually hold the complete product in our hand, I'm gonna probably do a little dance, and then there's time for charity as well, I would think.
Big
but
dance.
yeah, but it's not. Yeah, well, for me it's a little dance because I can't really dance well. But anyway,
I think
we'll do something, but I'm not going to promise you an event at that stage.
It mainly hinges on the fact that right now we don't have all that many goodies because that's pretty much it. And once it's out in print, you can have the manuscript. But I think that would exhaust our options for.
Yeah, that's it. But once we've got the Kickstarter fulfillment stuff out, and we do plan to order more than we need, then some of that hopefully is going to go to charity. We've got another project in Germany, the German All-Stars, where we also try to get proceeds to charity. Actually, it's not that easy with Kickstarter, for example, and taxes. Turns out we can't just give away stuff easily. But yeah, I mean, a good cause should never be left without goodies.
Grid Reaper asks, are you considering adding Stunt Damage? It would differentiate Shadowrun Online from any other video game and bring in true Shadowrun combat and tactics. I think we're considering it on a 2-monthly basis. The reason why we don't have it now is because ultimately you have to win all the combat, you have to win the battles, and Stun Damage makes sense if it creates a different kind of outcome. Right now, the only way to properly do that would either be to have sort of 2 flavors of damage, for which the different weapons and different resistances and so on, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in the sort of missions that we're looking at now.
I think it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense at all. I'm one of the guys that I was initially very, very strongly for Stun Damage because it's Shadowrun and it needs to be there. And then I slowly got around to the system we're currently using because honestly, in terms of, it's just 2 different damage bars, and you can choose to take one down or take the other down. You can have weapons that take both down, but in the end, you're taking down a damage bar, or you're taking down, the condition monitor.
I mean, it's not all that, because in pen and paper, it is a massive difference. Will I kill somebody, or won't I kill somebody?
Yeah, but that's on the difference. Like whether the guy keels over for exhaustion or sleeps or is dead. For us, mission-wise, because we're not going to give you kill points, we're just going to give you've managed the mission points. It doesn't make a difference whether he falls asleep or whether he's dead. For us, the outcome is the same. And in the actual combat interaction, you're just going to go ahead and shoot the guy or do some magic or whatever. It's still going to be just get rid of him. Shadowrun Returns did it. They have they pushed him to the back a bit, so there is sort of an invisible AP there, and there's a couple of weapons and spells that go for that. But AP there is basically just if you're out of AP, you get a stun. That's it. So that's just the same as a stun spell.
Yeah. So I think to come back to your question. We would gladly use it once it makes sense, but only if it actually changes the combat and tactics, and not just as another kind of gun that you kill things with, because that's not enough. It's boring. It doesn't do anything apart from do one kind of damage or the other kind of damage. And as long as it doesn't change the situation that you're in, a gun is just a gun.
Yeah. Which is, I think I prefer we added a damage system with the flavors of the, which is to a degree, it's not a simulation of that, but it's a similar system. That we've got physical damage, magical damage, and technical damage, which you can now see in the current recently released patch. So there are 3 kinds of damage already. You can have different resistances, you can have different weapons addressing those. The only difference is on a stun basis, it's used by mages and sort of exerting themselves, which we already addressed, I think, in one of the previous talks. It doesn't really make sense because what you do with your mage once he's cast his 3 spells in the mission. He's just a guy who can shoot not as well as the others, and we don't want people to have to, in this way at least, to have to manage their resource AP in some way. So other than that, it's just a different flavor of damage that you get. So I don't think I don't foresee a real good use for it in the game as we have it.
Unless we just add a very hard mode, give everybody just a taser, and add extra points for not killing anybody.
That could be interesting.
Later, much later.
Okay.
So much later.
Oh yeah. Mr. Rimir, is that a Nordic? That's a Fever or Rimir, probably a Nordic name. Is there already a plan when character customization will arrive and even items? Yes, there is. We just discussed it today, as a matter of fact.
We're working on that now. In our prototype scene, you can already click together a character. Again, without making any promises, things are looking good for us actually having... He's giving me the look. We know
we said August, did we? Right. I think we said August today. I don't have the thing in front of me, the plan in front of me, but I think we had it. You're working on that now.
Oh, I was about to promise something entirely different.
Oh, sorry, what do you?
That we will actually have all the Shadowrun races in at one go before launch.
That's definitely true. And I think the character customization is something that we see in August, and either end of August or September, right?
Yeah. So
late summerish.
Yes, you'll see the first bits pretty soon. We're trying to get it out to you as fast as possible, just to get an impression of it, and then we'll continue adding items, components, clothing, etc. as we go along. But yeah, this is one of the things that's been giving us less headaches than the rest.
There is Mr. Lummel, who has 2 different systems, a Win 7 laptop and a Win 8 desktop, but he never gets past the loading screen. We apologize for that. We're really sorry. We do have the same... I actually have a Win 7 laptop, and it runs fine on mine, and we've got a couple of Win 8 desktops, of course. So we're testing it, and we don't have any issues here. If you do have issues, I think the best bet is to talk to support. So SRO -support@cliffhanger-productions.com is probably the best place, because then one of our guys from support, who are also doing QA, can look at it directly, can look at your diagnosed files and check what's wrong, because from just sort of over here, it's hard to say.
And please include all the information that you have on the issue. So please include your hardware configuration.
DXDiag file, ideally.
DXDiag file, and ideally also when you submit bugs, always the build number, in which revision you encounter.
It could also be you don't get past the loading screen because there's no connection, so it could be a firewall or stuff like that. But anyway, support is much better suited.
They're really nice.
They're really nice people.
They will swear at you only when absolutely necessary.
And then in the nicest possible way. Mr. Mickelson again, asking us, beyond lockdown, could you see Shadowrun Online branch out to locations across the world? Of course. We can see so many things. No, initially when we started the Kickstarter campaign, we fully assumed we would be able to do several locations. We actually talked about cities.
We did.
We're going to stick with lockdown currently with Boston because it makes sense story-wise as well. It's not even about, like, we could have, if we've got 50 maps, we could say some of them are in Africa. But we want a coherent story. We want something that where's a setting, there's a whole dynamic to that setting that makes sense. When we do add-ons, they are more likely than not going to be in a different city, but then again we need a setting and a story and a dynamic that makes sense. And I don't want to just, okay, this is a townhouse and now it's in Paris because we say so. It needs to be something that has its own flair and its own flavor.
So basically, let us try and get lockdown right first, and when that's working, then we'll talk about branching out. But we really don't want to.
And also, even when we do lockdown, it's not like it's going to end on release. There's content coming after for lockdown specifically that won't be paid update content. So for all of you having a campaign, you're getting that without having to pay extra, obviously. There is more to lockdown that we want to do than what we'll be able to finish until launch. Mr. Yadnov asks us about what is the schedule for integrating persistent character progression and how will it scale?
Actually having a player character, like for us technically just the concept of a player character is a fairly tricky bit because it needs to be persistent, is the next thing on our menu. So the character creation and customization will play into that. Expect to see something of that soonish.
Yes, and in terms of how will it scale, we'll have karma points, so we don't have levels. It's got to be true to the Shadowrun system in that regard.
But I really wouldn't say more than that today.
And we can't tell yet because it doesn't have an end progression in that sense, because it's not going to be level 1 to level 80 because we don't have levels. Which means theoretically it never ends. If you play forever, you probably could, technically in terms of just spending a lot of points, you could unlock everything, which is not fun because now your character can do everything, and there's no real challenge in that. But maybe if you want to do that, you could probably. So in that sense, what we do want in terms of scaling, what we can tell you is that obviously the usual rule of scale applies. The longer you play, the harder it gets to progress because you need more points to get to the next whatever. But we have a couple of ideas, and I don't want to go into detail on that because otherwise Tom will kick me in the shins.
I already tried, but I hit the table instead.
Yeah, fortunately his legs aren't long enough. Stumpy guy. Anyway, what I was saying is that we have a couple of ideas to make the scaling of the progression more interesting than just adding points to unlock the next level of the same skill and then get +2 damage on that. We are more ambitious than that. I think we can say that safely.
Yeah. Yes, we are as often more ambitious than that.
Okay. Last 3 questions. Ralf Stauder couldn't make it to RPC. We're sorry. It was actually fun to be there.
RPC was fun. Hi to everybody who was there.
Yes. Thank you, Colin, again. I know you're watching.
We had a blast.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, everybody. What's the next convention we're planning of going? Gen Con. Tom is going to be at Gen Con if everything works as intended. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be at Gamescom, which is at almost the exact same date in Cologne. Whether we're going to be in the public area remains to be seen because we can't afford a booth, babe, fest, and big loudspeakers and 100 square meters of whatever. So yeah, that we're going to try. If you come to the business center, we're definitely going to try and make time for you. Otherwise, Gen Con, and there's a local Viennese thing, the Shadowrun Lab, I think that some of us are going to.
Also, hi guys, I'm pretty sure, I hope you're watching. Oh
yeah, if you don't, then we're really angry at you. So yeah, that's the one that we know of now. PAX Prime is another suspect in Seattle, but I'm guessing Ralph, you also won't make it there because it's on the other side of the ocean.
But we'll keep you updated on Facebook, on Shadowrun.com, and yeah, we'd love to see you there.
Yeah. Grid Reaper asked us how close we are to starting to develop for the iPad and tablet version. That's an easy one.
Can I tell?
Yeah, of course.
We already are.
Yeah, we
already are. Things are promising so far, but don't expect anything soon.
Yeah, what we're doing is what we're currently, the tactic we're using is the following. We do use all the builds on tablet and check whether they run. We are not optimizing for the tablets or iPads yet, so that, for example, we know the game technically works there, but some of the levels may just be too big or may have too high a whatever texture size or whatever. We're not gonna optimize yet, but basically what we're hoping for is that since we always carry a workable iPad and tablet version with us, once we're at the point where we want to release there, it's going to be relatively quick because it's mainly graphical adaptations and not something like, oh shit, we didn't know that worked this way. Because we're using Unity, we can actually sort of build the thing with a press of a button. It currently doesn't mean that it works when we build it.
Somebody does have to build the button first.
Yeah, but it's yeah. So we're carrying it, but you still won't see it for quite some time to come, because all the content is actually the stuff that we do at the end.
Ralph is asking whether we have some cameos planned, like with Jake Armitage in Shadowrun Returns. Of course we do. Have you missed the ones we put in so far? That makes us very sad.
Oh well. Yeah. We actually talked to the Jordan and his guys at Hairbrained about potentially also using some characters from their game as cameos. But I think that's the fun stuff that we do when we've got the hard work done.
Yep.
That was the last question, apparently.
Yeah, we're already way over time.
We're way over time. I'm having a blast. I could do one more question, but anyway, there's a couple. Do you want to do two more questions, maybe?
Okay.
Or we're just setting a bad example.
No, we're setting a bad example. Okay, we can do one more.
Okay, we do one more. Speaking of others, there's. I haven't actually played the game yet. I think after watching a YouTube video gameplay of it, I will. My question is, will you be able to replay missions, as in record them to watch over again? So if you fail, you could watch to see when it went wrong. Not currently. There are systems that you can do for that. There's middleware actually in this day and age that does that. It's just not our priority yet to put it in. That being said, I'm fairly certain that once you actually play it, you will see where you went wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's the good thing about it, because it's turn-based. It's not something that happens while you're not looking. And I've played mission. It used to be mission 4, but now it's the last mission.
Yeah. The evil one. The
evil one with all the randomly spawning guys.
Which I had to prove at the RPC that it was doable because someone.
It's totally doable. Like in the last build, I actually did it on like the second go or something. I was like, yeah, I rock. I know this game, and now I've been killed like 3 or 4 times.
Because now you can't learn it by heart anymore.
No, I didn't know it by heart last time. I just was damn lucky.
It was damn lucky.
Yeah.
I was so afraid because this guy came and basically told me that it was not doable, and I said, "Well, I'm a developer. Move over, young man. I'll show you." And I usually get it right on every second or third try. I totally rocked.
Yeah, see. But that being said, what I was going to say is I died there like 3 or 4 times, and I knew the first time what I did wrong in step 2, and then I got to step 3, and then I did something wrong again. So your experience builds, and you don't have to watch yourself doing it. You can actually play it, and you won't. I don't think you'll need a replay of it. You'll be pretty aware of where it went wrong, because it's also really deadly. Still, the game is. It's supposed to be that, which means you immediately see where you went wrong. It's not like, oh, I've lost my 2 hit points 10 turns down and now I'm fucked, but it's really just, oh damn, I'm already almost dead. So the game clearly tells you where you went wrong, I think. That was the last question. Okay, well, it's the last question.
We'll do another one anyway.
Yeah, another Q&A.
We'll see you after the next batch. And please be sure to send us your feedback. There's a thread in the forum for that, which we very regularly read.
And actually posting.
Other than that, see you next time, and hope to see you in the game.
Thanks to everybody for either staying up that late or being home that early. Tell your friends, Shadowrun is still there. And hope you're enjoying the new build.
It's there more than ever.
Exactly, it's there more than ever. Yeah. Okay. See you around. And
Bye.
I think we have to press a button now.
And press.
Bye.